Peace, y'all, Anon, the Griot. ReTell Therapy 2020, Part 1. Found this joint in the notebook. I think this is the notebook I found it in. Please don't let me be like my father, 'cause I don't want to be my father. Please don't let me be like my papa, 'cause he's a phantom that has no opera. Lord forbid I'm at all like my daddy, 'cause daddy ain't a daddy if he left when she had me. Sweet Jesus, don't let me be like my pops, 'cause this right here, this is where the buck stops. This is a bastard's prayer, 'cause shit ain't fair. This is a bastard's hymn. It's fucked up, but I lucked up. I'm just like him, 'cause DNA don't lie, even if hips do. And I ain't got no halo. I used to wish dude was fish food. Because of this dude, I got major issue. Baby, get some tissues. Running up with the pistol. Girls gun play and fear by the fistful. Ignorance being blissful. And it was all so simple. Fuck that nigga. Kill that nigga. That was a chant. Mug that nigga. Grill that nigga. If I ever get the chance. Yes. But what's golden gangster gospel? But what do you do when you wake up and realize that that fuck nigga was you? No clue how to handle when states separate, and your picture on the mantle has been replaced. What's worse? What hurts? What makes the heart stop? Realizing the same shit happened to pops. Dial tone on a cellular phone. Found a number on the net that they called his home. Had my words written down, but they came out wrong. Like Garth Brooks on a Rock Him song. Alas, I digress. I was just scared. What if they picked up and said he wasn't there? The worst he was strapped to a chair. I'm dead. That he was gone. And I just wasn't prepared. I realized that I can't. Please don't let me be like my father. I don't want to see my father on my own. Please don't let me be like Papa. He's a phantom that has no opera. So when I talk real to you right now, it's probably about the realest thing I can share with you to get this going. So ReTell Therapy, the idea is those of us, particularly us black males, who are creators and purveyors of art. There are times in which a piece of art speaks to us so much that it is part of our own healing process. And because there isn't such a demand for black men in therapy, sometimes we don't go to therapy. And there are a variety of reasons why we might not go to therapy. And I'd like to explore those later with some future guests. But for right now, that piece was called Mannish. And on my IG and on my Facebook, and actually on my website, AnonTheGriot.com, I have my own blog post called The Bastard Chronicles. The idea being that I'm kind of a bastard, as the term would be, not illegitimate, because we don't use that terminology anymore. And then I also think about the fact that even Black America essentially is the bastard child of Mother Africa and the European, not superpowers. And I wanted to explore this idea for so long. And it was so heavy that I couldn't ever really sit down and go all the way through because it required me to kind of dig into myself and bring out some pains and some hurt. And then I stumbled across this piece in this book. I have a gang of notebooks, journals that I write in, and some will get filled up and then some won't, and then I'll get a new one and I'll go back. And this just happened to be on the floor of the studio while I was coming up with something. And so first and foremost, I I was inspired a lot by Jay-Z's joint Moment of Clarity. That first verse, Pop died, didn't cry, didn't know him that well. Between them doing heroin and me doing crack sales. And he continues to go, that man's face is just like my face. But then he says something that I hadn't heard in all of the hip hop songs we've had about fathers. And Shaq's Biological Didn't Bother, which was bumping in the early 90s. He said, so Pop, I forgive you for all the shit that I lived through. It wasn't all your fault, homie. You got caught. And I became a father at the age of 22. You had to do some math. Became a father at the age of 22, senior year of Morehouse. So I had some things right, if you will. I was good, I guess. My father had me, well, my mother and father had me at 17. And at 22, 5 years, they're senior at that point. And having at least done some of the foundational things that I should have done to be ready, I was absolutely ill prepared and ill equipped. I didn't know what I was doing, man. And so then I have to think about what was my 17-year-old father thinking. And the story is sorted and there are levels into it that I'm definitely not going into because they're not as relevant as the solution, the understanding that I got. And so biologically, if I am, DNA wise, if I'm half of my mother and half of my father, and then that amalgamation comes together and that creates me, it's almost impossible for me to love myself while hating my father. Something to think about. So even as I realized that and valued that concept, I was still afraid of what would happen the moment I had a conversation with my father. And that's where that piece came from. After making first contact with my father at a later age in life and all of the fears that came along with it, and me realizing even after that conversation that with the years being distance between us, there was still something that I wanted. I did still want to have a father. I wanted to be able to have father son moments, and I was so afraid of my expectations and the possible disappointments that came along with it. So I wrote this piece called Mannish. Because in the country, as a little boy, when you start smelling yourself, the ladies say you mannish. Well, in actuality, you should be a little mannish as you're getting your practice as to how to be a man. But what it gave me was freedom. Like all of the pain that I had pursuant to that kind of dissipated and was able to transition from pain and more to appreciation and humility at the opportunity to be able to move forward and to forge a relationship with my father. And the interesting thing is, as an adult male, forging a relationship with my adult male father, some of those misgivings and some of those not wanting to disappoint that goes with youth aren't there anymore. So I'm happy to say that me and my father, we maintain great communication with each other. My uncles on that side come visit the A, and I get to hang out with them. I've even gone back to my paternal birth home of Columbus, Mississippi. I say paternal, that's where my dad's side comes from, Columbus, Mississippi. And I'm actually from Helena, Arkansas, which is right by the border of Mississippi. So barefoot country all the way down to the core. Had I not reached out, I don't know if I would have had this opportunity. So to sign off on ReTell therapy for this one, if you're a dad, be a dad. If you have a dad, forgive your dad. And in that forgiveness, you forgive yourself and you allow the next generation to forgive and love. Peace.